Hello and welcome to the Industry Week Book Club. I'm Industry Week Senior Editor Laura Poutre. Today I'm talking with Trond Undheim, futurist, podcaster, author, and lead ecosystem evangelist at MIT startup Tulip. He's former director of the MIT Startup Exchange. Today we're talking Hello, and welcome to the Industry Week Book Club. I'm Industry Week Senior Editor Laura Poutre. Today we're talking with Trond Undheim, futurist, podcaster, author, and lead ecosystem evangelist at MIT startup Tulip. He's former director of the MIT Startup Exchange. Today we're talking about his new book, Augmented Lean. It's a look at a new management framework that puts humans at the center. The book explores why augmentation rather than automation is the future of industry and shares practical advice for implementation. Welcome, Trond.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Laura.
It's great having you. Can you talk a little bit about why you wrote this book and who this book is for?
Well, so Natan Linder and I, co-authors of this book, were both interested in describing one of the most overlooked features, I think, in the current phase of industrialization, because we are in an age that's obsessed with technology, perhaps rightly so. There's nothing wrong with that. But people's role in the innovation process and people's role in making use of technology sometimes doesn't take center stage. And this is a particular problem in manufacturing, which we'll get to, because if you get too obsessed about these big machines, you're missing something. There's basically hidden activities in the factory and, hidden patterns that you can unlock to really, truly embrace innovation that comes from the synergy between human teams interactions and technology. And it's very different from just considering technology as the only salvaging factor when you're trying to squeeze out a little bit more innovation here and there. So it's really a transformational perspective, and it starts from putting humans at the center. It doesn't ignore technology by any stretch. It's just a smarter way to think about how and why to implement technology.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what exactly is augmented lean, and how does lean fit into your philosophy here?
Yeah, so Lean is a fantastic framework in and of itself, right? Focused on managing and reducing waste in organizational processes. So we took the starting point from Lean and said, well, what is there in addition to Lean? And of course, this being a perspective that developed far before the current information age, there are some things that are new here, but we saw no reason to throw out that perspective because there were some really fundamental insights in the Lean movement and in the factories and companies that have implemented Lean practices that we would want to keep. The bigger challenge actually is that, many companies that and leaders who started to buy technology, in piles and, these massive machines actually have forgotten a little bit of the original lessons of Lean. So we added augmented to Lean, not because Lean itself needs to be augmented, but because people need to be augmented with technology. And, we are counterposing two things here. Automation is the usual language for technology in manufacturing and in industry. And we happen to think that it is overdue to move from automation to augmentation, meaning we were skipping too easily, too quickly to the step that technology can somehow mysteriously kind of take over all activities that humans did on the shop floor or on the factory floor, without really considering that humans are really kind of the almost the best robot we could ever build. And it makes a lot more sense to empower and augment the humans that we have on the shop floor. And in any case, for years and years, until machines become fully autonomous and can really carry out the kinds of things we're hoping they can, it is augmenting humans that's going to give us the best balance between the skills that certain types of machines can accomplish and the tasks that humans are so far superior at carrying out. And the problem is, if we jump to technology too fast, sometimes the technology doesn't even get used. After a year, you put it in the corner, or it breaks down and no one can repair it. So we have helped industrial leaders through this perspective maintain their leadership and enabling their own workers to innovate, and basically giving the control of all the levers back to the workers, which makes a lot of sense when you think about how many workers there are in an organization. So if you believe at all in group creativity, it just makes sense um, to enable the biggest amount of innovation force, as opposed to just enabling, for example, only the top managers. So Augmented Lean really is a decentralized innovation framework where the focus is on learning from emergent practices and putting in place small, very simple technology enhancements in the form of digital applications and things that track and help human beings get bigger oversight over their own production process. So it's things like digital work instructions. Um, it is machine monitoring, of course. So you monitor machines, but the objective is always to give just the right amount of information to operators so that they themselves can make the judgment on how to optimize their own workflow, or how to optimize the workflow of other people or of the machines that they are making use of in that process.
Can you give me an example, like on the shop floor, of like how somebody's using augmented lean?
Yeah, I mean, the exciting thing, right, is that in the olden days, when technology was introduced, it was, oh, here comes the big machine. Let's all take a month course in this technology. And augmented lean is this idea that whatever technology you do introduce, it has to be simple enough. You shouldn't need to be a software engineer to manage the process around any kind of technology that's implemented, in an augmented lean way. So the exciting thing on the shop floor is to watch either engineers who themselves, of course, are somewhat technology literate, but they're not software engineers, and they're putting in new digital applications on the shop floor without any pre-training and without any software coding skills.
Mm-hmm.
And again, whatever you do, um, it has to be because there was a need expressed on the shop floor. You don't start putting in these massive machines without asking anybody, do we have a problem in this particular arena? So the first question you ask is, where are things working well? And you don't fix things that are actually working well. You start from the perspective that generally things are probably working well. Where there are roadblocks, of course, that's when you can start tweaking. But again, in this whole augmented perspective, everything stems from the organizations themselves. So even vendors who come in with technology shouldn't be able to control the whole environment or change the whole environment,
Mm-hmm.
because the assumption is that an organization already is working. And whatever is wrong or whatever improvements you want to make, they have to start from the perspective of that organization. So that's really a very fundamental perspective. So, and that's very similar to the lean philosophy. Now, there are some digital enhancements in here. So that's why I speak about these digital applications. So this is no code systems, is the formal term for many of these things. And there are now several vendors that provide these systems, and other older legacy vendors are trying to get there. They're trying to simplify their interfaces, because this goes back to why is this the case? And in other industries, in fact, in if you were lucky enough to be an office worker and you have either an office, a home office, you have a desk and a PC, and you're sitting there, billions of dollars has been invested in you. So no wonder you feel like you're getting more productive, right? You have all these applications that you can use. You have text manipulation tools, you have translators, you have all these things. And for the longest time, the industrial worker, the operator, whoever on the shop floor, maybe running around, maybe standing up during work, and constantly getting things coming in, having no idea of tracking when is this coming in to my station, so I need to deal with it. How can I when I'm done, how can I process and make sure I send off whatever I've been working on in the most efficient way possible? Workers usually were filling out these checklists, right? And there are so many very easy ways to do that now, with sensors that automatically monitor when you are doing a task, perhaps even, blinks with a red light if you're doing the wrong thing. And when you're done, you don't have to tick off a box saying you've done it, because the sensor, perhaps a camera on top of your workstation, already knows you did the job. So they sound almost too simple to be true. And these technologies are also becoming less and less expensive.
Yeah, just that you explained that really well. I just wanted to, we're running out of time here, so I just want to wrap it up with a question about leadership, and that is, should leaders be leading differently with augmentation in mind?
Yes, I think that is very clear, that leaders are facilitators in this picture. They are not the deciders of everything. In Augmented Lean, you start from the perspective that training and teaching your employees from on every level, but especially the lower they are in the organization, mostly because there's more of them. So there's just much more potential. Each worker has tremendous potential. And it's almost crazy that one has to say this, but that is the fact. So the innovation potential has to come from where the greatest amount of potential gain is, and that is from the bottom of the organization. So enabling just-in-time, peer-to-peer training, not off-site, but basically digital work instructions, introducing technologies that are with interfaces that are as simple as possible. Still, of course, adding something to the process, making sure that they are continuously adding to the quality of work that your workers are executing. That's really the fundamental role to enable, is a manager's role in this new picture. A lot of the decision making also is decentralized, because when workers can see the whole work process, you don't have to wait for the end of the week's management meeting to know whether you hit the quota or anything happened, because all of these things are in principle transparent. So you obviously have to choose to let your workforce see the results of their work, but when they do, theoretically they have access to a bigger part of the supply chain, and that's really when the big benefits start to show up.
Well, thanks very much for talking with us today, Trond. The book is called Augmented Lean, and it's been really enlightening hearing all your insights. I really appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.